The corporations are not going to define the First Amendment and free speech in this country. What Breitbart does is we cover stories the establishment press doesn't want to cover.
We're much more focused on what interests the people than what interests the elite. Our goal is to get out something that serves that audience and to highlight things that the establishment media won't. But you certainly want to stand your ground ideologically when you're challenged. And that involves learning the facts, staying up on the news, but then being dogged and relentless when it comes to defending your ideas.
Morning, everyone. It is so great to be in the free state of Florida. I'm Alex Marlow, editor-in-chief of Breitbart News, and I come from a tiny state on the other side of the country that's known for all sorts of virtues. Tell me if you can recognize it. High taxes, uncontrollable wildfires, and utter lawlessness. Okay, if you still don't know, we're a state that invented illegal alien privilege. You think that's a joke? In my state, if you show up uninvited, not only do we not kick you out, we give you everything you want. Free healthcare, free education, you don't have to pay taxes if you don't want, because you see, we're compassionate to everyone aside from law-abiding citizens. See, of course, I'm talking about California, the state that decided to take the public parks away from children and turn them over to the homeless and the fentanyl dealers. This is a state that's so woke that the leaders won't be satisfied until there isn't a single woman that will reach the podium in a women's track and field event. They've redefined the American dream to a chicken in every pot and a penis in every girl's locker room. That is the California dream. There's a reason they call it the left coast. And California's been the butt of a lot of jokes lately. But it truly is a cautionary tale, because the future of this country has come down to a binary choice between the example set by MAGA, the MAGA America as represented by Florida, or Gavin Newsom and Kamala Harris America, which is represented by California. You have a choice between illegal alien children harvesting illegal marijuana or alligator Alcatraz. Did you guys catch how Trump was explaining to illegal aliens how to evade the alligators? He really did this. He was explaining that you have to run a zigzag in order to get by them. It's actually called running serpentine, which is ironic because they're also pythons at alligator Alcatraz. So you have to run serpentine in order to beat the python. That's so cool. And that's why the next prison, I'm making a recommendation. Python Panopticon. Try it. It's gonna work. Trump is one of the funniest people on earth. There's no doubt about it. But the choice really comes down to more law and order or more lawlessness. A government that prioritizes its citizens or a government that prioritizes invaders and themselves. It's not much of a choice in my view. And that's really the issue at heart, if you think about it. What's ailing this society is the perception that the powers that be exist to protect their own power, their own lives, their own freedoms, their own wealth, and not yours, not the citizens, not we the people. That's what Donald Trump identified more than 10 years ago, and that's why he's always had my attention since he came down that elevator. So I'm a researcher by nature. I like to go deep on the issues to try to bring out stories that people have missed. And that's what we've done at Breitbart News for 20 years. And it's put us at the forefront of the MAGA movement. We spotted it first, before it even had a name, and we're very proud of that. So I spent the last year researching the lawfare against President Trump, the weaponization of the legal system against him. And I have a forthcoming book coming out in a few weeks called Breaking the Law, and it hits the shelves soon. And the crux of the book is how there's a legal superstructure that low-level prosecutors, to law schools, to district judges, to the Justice Department, to Joe Biden's White House itself, coordinated and conspired to put Donald Trump behind bars and bankrupt him if they couldn't. I want to say something flat out. That is not democracy. That is election interference. It's a shocking story, and the extent of the conspiracy is vast. It's not all known at this time. But one of the conclusions that I drew, if it wasn't already obvious from my time in California, the left hates law and order. There's no greater evidence than this than the border. Well, maybe there's one other piece of evidence. You know, when Zohran Mamdani said that he will, all of our favorites. He said he'd stop sending cops to people who are going through domestic violence, like it's some sort of a syndrome. Zohran, you know that's just game on for wife beaters, right? And he's got to be cautious about that. It's not a good look for a guy whose faith is not exactly equitable for the ladies, if you know what I mean. So, you know he's not a communist either, right, Zohran? So he says he wants to seize the means of production, but he doesn't mean any of that. He's not authentic. Do you know how I know he's not a communist? His teeth. You got to check out his teeth. They're not just white. They're toilet bowl white. They're whiter than Joe Biden's, and we've seen Joe Biden's teeth, right? You don't get that sort of color of teeth without capitalism. That's cosmetic dentistry. That's Zoom. That's veneers. It's capitalism. He's a fraud. He's a phony, and we all know that. But we've got to get the word out because the stakes are so high. You can't underestimate the left's ability to sell bad ideas to the public. That's what they've been doing in my home state. And Trump exposed them. But they're working every single day to try to stop him. When Trump wins, the deep state and the lawfare apparatus try to stop his agenda. When Trump loses, then they try to bankrupt him. They try to throw him in jail and his family as well. If they truly had their wish, he'd be dead by now. By now, you know tomorrow's an anniversary. It's a big anniversary. The anniversary of the day that God intervened yet again to save our country. Not only do I believe that is exactly what happened on July 13th in Butler, Pennsylvania, but President Trump agrees with me. I asked him about it a few days after. He described in riveting detail. He noted that it was a miracle that if the illegal immigration poster that he was referencing was on the opposite side of the podium, he'd be dead because he'd have turned a different direction. He noted the miracle that if the bullet hadn't grazed his ear, he wouldn't have dropped to the ground and the shooter would have had another clean shot. And then he added this dark bit of humor. He said, if the bullet would have hit me, my head would have exploded like a watermelon, and all of our enemies would have had that video for propaganda. Which is simultaneously the darkest thing I've ever heard and objectively hilarious. Who else can do that? But God had other plans for him. He had other plans for us, as he always has. We are an exceptional country, and we are winning a lot right now. We're finally on the comeback trail after what felt like years in the wilderness. But I speak to you today at a time that our movement is going through a little bit of infighting over Iran, over the big beautiful bill, over the Epstein files. And we can and should debate this stuff. We need to ask questions, we need to demand answers, we need to demand accountability. But I want to offer a note of positivity. When the MAGA movement began over a year ago, there weren't a lot of us. And those of us who called ourselves America First nationalists were called racists. Now, the whole world is calling Trump daddy. And he is daddy. He is. He's the father figure they don't deserve, but they absolutely need. That's daddy. You see, what people don't understand about Trump is that this movement and President Trump, they see us as agents of chaos. They see him as an agent of chaos. No, he's an agent of peace. He's the most rational politician in Washington. I know this. I lived there a long time. The town is run by absolutely crazy people. These were the people that told us tariffs were going to cause inflation. Well, we learned this week we have a budget surplus. They told us he tanked the economy. Well, how's that going? Stock market, all-time high. Gold, all-time high. Bitcoin, all-time high. Unfortunately, home prices are also all-time high, so we got to work on that. We got time, though. We got to work on that. They told us his bombing campaign would lead to World War III. Instead, could mean Donald J. Trump getting a Nobel Peace Prize. Maybe 2, maybe 3. Who knows? He deserves a lot. Brokered peace in Africa, too. He's got a lot of work he's doing. They told us that border enforcement was impossible, racist even. And now crossings are down to literally 0. At the same time, President Trump's polls are going up with minorities. He's standing up to China. He's cutting taxes. He's deregulating. We're building nuclear. We're drilling offshore. We're drilling onshore. It feels like the winning might never stop. But it will if we don't keep our eye on the ball. The institutional left that we've been working against at Breitbart News for the last 20 years is well organized. It's well funded, and they're ready to oppose us at every turn. They're feeling a dynamic, persuasive, charismatic crop of young leaders that are ready to take all of us, all of you on. Leaders like the great Jasmine Crockett. The woman who once said, "We're going to be in your face. We're going to be on your asses. And we are going to make sure you understand what democracy looks like." She finna run for president, guys. At least I hope she does. Do you think she's an op from Trump? Do you think so? He has this knack of getting them to embrace the worst ideas ever. You guys remember Saint Abrego Garcia, who is a clear human smuggler? They pull him over. He's driving across country. No one's got any luggage. Everyone in the car lists the address as Abrego's house. And the Democrats are like, that's our guy. We're going to bat for him. And how about the latest one, where Gavin Newsom's out there defending illegal alien children laboring in the pot field? That's child slavery. And the Democrats are all out there, they're embracing it. These aren't 80-20 issues, these are 97-3 issues, as President Trump is known to say. And we kid around about this, but my point is that so long as there is a combination of Obama and Schumer cherry-picked judges, infinite billions of dollars from the institutional left in our politics, our victory will not be absolute. There has not yet been justice for President Trump. There has not yet been justice for President Trump. Who do you know that has been held accountable for all the lawfare? Who do you know that has been held accountable for trying to bankrupt them with cruel and unusual punishments by way of fines? Who are the ones who are getting held to account for trying to interfere in our democracy, for making sure President Trump campaigned in a courthouse instead of on the campaign trail for his 2024 re-election bid? We need to turn over every stone. We need to do every single investigation. We need to make sure there is full accountability to the American people for what the deep state is doing every single day in Washington, D.C. And the only people who will demand that is this movement. Now, I play a small and proud part of the history of Turning Point in that Charlie Kirk came to me over a decade ago. We were at Breitbart News, me and my colleague Joel Pollack, and had a story for us. Charlie expected us to write it up. It was some bias going on his campus. And instead, what we decided to do, well, why don't you write it? He said, me? I'm just a kid. Exactly. That's the point. That's authenticity. That's how you build a movement. That's how you build a coalition, is you get the people with skin in the game. So we wrote it up, and Charlie was everywhere. How's it going for Charlie so far in his career? Pretty good. He's provided an incredible platform, an incredible launch pad for a lot of terrific ideas. That's the point of this movement, is that you can start so small and you can go so big if you try. But they will try to stop you at every turn. Don't get lulled into some sort of a snooze. Don't be sleepy Joe Biden. We need the high energy. We need the motivation. We need to feel like every single day we are on a war footing. We are here to fight, because these values, they will take them from us. They took them from my state. And we let it happen. We let it happen with an open border. We let it happen with a corrupt government. Selfish people running the state that I come from ruined it. The American dream is no longer exists out there. We're going to fight to try to bring it back. But I want you to understand that this movement, what we have, is special. And we are on a winning streak. And now is the time to run up the score. We cannot slow down. We must run up the score right now. And there's only one way to do this. We need to get up every day like Donald Trump did in Butler, Pennsylvania 1 year ago. And we need to fight, fight, fight. And it's at that point that we can win, win, win. Thank you, everyone.